this then, as we took up the elements of wisdom. There were three elements: knowledge, understanding, and of course wisdom itself. And it says here, when we took this up, knowledge, it's the knowledge of God. It's not just academic knowledge, it's knowledge of God. This is where we go for wisdom. Knowledge of God, His nature, character, and will that are found in the Word of God. That's where you go for it. Knowledge of God. And you learn about His character and all of the nature and the attributes of God. Understanding, it comes when the principles in the Word are rightly interpreted, correctly comprehended, and its instructions are easily encompassed. So again, this wisdom that we're after, this tree that we want that keeps producing, keeps churning out the goods, left hand, right hand, all of the benefits you could possibly want, but the things you could want don't give you wisdom, but wisdom gives you those things. If you find the knowledge of it and get the understanding of how it works, then you can apply it to your life. So you got to go to the Word for it, number one. Secondly, we brought up this whole thing about understanding. It's not a matter of saying, I got it, I got it. It requires deep thinking. It is not a casual thought. It is something you have to think deeply about. And we talked about meditating, regurgitating concepts and principles and laws and applying them to your life. And it takes time. There's a process to it. You don't learn it immediately. It's developed, and process allows you to do that. Many times you find yourself in a situation or in a circumstance that you're rebuking all the time. And yet the reality of it is God's allowed something to flow through or your life, flow into your life that is for the purpose of developing or applying the understanding of what the Word says. And many times as soon as it shows up, well, it's of the devil and I rebuke it. Well, maybe you should just take what you've learned from the Word of God and start applying it and watch what happens and start developing it. But automatically when something is not nice or something is uneasy or uncomfortable or unfamiliar, we automatically want to blame the devil, and we automatically then rebuke it, and we refuse to go through it because it's not God. Well, sometimes it is. And there is no temptation. Actually, somebody go to 2 Corinthians chapter 10, if you would. Sometimes just the application of understanding is just necessary. You won't get it without a test. You have to have a test. And many times we refuse to take them. We rebuke them. We ask 4 or 5 people to agree with us that it won't happen. So, and let's agree that I won't have to take my exams, and I'll still get a degree. It doesn't work that way. Somebody want to read verse 13.
We will not boast about things done outside our area of authority. We will boast only about what has happened within the boundaries of the work God has given us, which includes
my fault.
2 Corinthians 10.
I said, yeah, that was me. It was 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. I'm sorry. And the point I'm trying to make here is, I'm sorry, John, that was my fault. There is process to it, and God takes you through process. You've got to apply. You've got to go to the Word, find out what the Word says. Then you've got to deep think it so you get the understanding of what it's and how it works. And then you get the process of exercising it. Somebody read verse 13 for me.
First 10 Corinthians 13. The temptations in your life are no different from what other experience. And God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than what you can stand. When you are tempted, He will show you a way out so that you can endure. So, my dear friends, flee from the worship of idols. You are reasonable people. Decide for yourselves if what I am saying is true.
Okay.
When we bless the
No, leave it there, John. And so what he's basically saying here is, look, there is no temptation that isn't common to man, but God won't allow that temptation happen to you unless He knows that you have the ability to come out from under it. That's basically what he's saying. He wouldn't let it happen, no more than you would let your child go through something that they haven't been trained for or having the experience to come out from under. And that's what he's saying. God, if God allows it to happen to you, in that something crops up in your life, just stop rebuking it and realize that there's a process to understanding. And there's some things you got to go through. But the key to it is go through. You know, the psalmist said in Psalm 23, even though I go through the valley of the shadow of death. But the key to that whole verse is you go through. He didn't say you stay there, you camp there. He says you go through there. But there's something to learn in the process. And so, as I said, a lot of times we don't want to go to the gym, but we want the results. You know, we don't want to take the exam, but we want the degree. It doesn't work that way. Well, we want to become mature, strong believers, but we don't want any tests or trials. Sorry, comes with the process. It's part of the process. But here's the deal. If you find yourself in something, going through something that is not of your own seeding, then you just got to believe that God has faith in you. God believes that you have what it takes to come through this. You have the knowledge and the understanding to apply to come out from under this, victorious. And so many a time when you find yourself up to your eyeballs in something and you think, what do I do? Then you stop for a minute and grab that regurgitated deep thinking of the processes or the information that you got from the Word of God, and you start to apply it. And then watch what happens. And you'll come out from under it, you'll gain a victory, you'll advance, and you know what? The devil will not be able to beat your brains out with that one anymore, because you've learned how to beat it. You've learned how to come out from under it. And so that's what understanding is. And so again, it's applicable. You've got to deep think it, and then you've got to go through the process of applying it to your life. And as you do, you begin to realize what's going on, and when it shows up the next time, wisdom will take over, because you know what the Word says, you understand how the Word works, and then you'll start applying it intentionally right from the get-go. Not because you were desperate and you didn't know where to turn, and eventually you learned the hard way. Now you live life by principles. I know what this is, I know how it works, and I know how to be wise. Everybody with me? All right. Wisdom is where we're going today. The correct application of knowledge, this is biblical knowledge, and the quality of good, sensible, prudent judgment.